Hello, and welcome to the Quantum Photons. My name is Aaron.
And my name is Stefan.
And this is the podcast all about science in every form and every fashion. Tonight is the much anticipated, the much ballyhooed, the much announced. It hasn't been any of those things, but it's nice to make it seem like it is. We're going to be talking about aliens tonight. And we talked a little bit about at last week's episode about aliens. We kind of ducked and dodged through it. And one thing we mentioned, which I think I should have explained when we were talking about it. So we referenced the pilot episode of Star Trek's Next Generation Encounter at Farpoint. And so the conversation we were having was along the lines of like aliens might take the form of the alien in the Farpoint episode. And then we just kind of hop, skipped, and jumped to the next piece of the conversation. For those of you who are not Star Trek fans or are not a part of or do not have a TNG knowledge, which is the Next Generation, the encounter at Farpoint revolves around Farpoint Station, which the Enterprise shows up and things happen, and it's soon discovered that the colonists, or the people who run Farpoint Station, had actually enslaved an alien creature to make the station work and all these things. And so the episode ends with the creature being released and all that thing. And so when I was saying last week that the aliens that we think of as actual aliens, it may be more of a Farpoint situation versus whatever. But we'll get into more of that as we go. But I wanted that context to be there. And it's just a gentle reminder to me that you out there in the world may not have that context or content that will help you kind of grasp what we're talking about. So yeah, welcome to Quantum Photons. Aliens is our topic today. Stefan, what's your base statement on aliens? Yes or no or maybe?
It's
a big question, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because it's kind of hard to do I believe there's such a thing as other beings in the universe? Yes. Can I say what they are? No.
Right.
That would be my answer to the question.
Okay. I will ask the same question to myself, which the answer is so my wife had an interesting reaction to our conversation from last week, and she was kind of surprised that I was suggesting that there are aliens and that they may exist and things of that sort. I think, to quote the Jurassic Park kind of line from Dr. Ian Malcolm, life finds a way. I think we have this, and it has been this way for thousands of years, this Earth-centric focus. Like, we have believed for quite some time that Earth is the center of the universe. We obviously now know that that's not the case. Like, the universe is much larger and bigger than we could ever begin to fathom. But the context of that remains, we are alone as far as we have been able to tell in 2024. And we're going to go through a couple of pieces of evidence that suggests that we may not be alone. But there was an article a couple months ago where it was basically like, we're alone. We're not alone, but we're going to be alone for a long, long time. Because as hard as it is for us to get out of the galaxy and to get beyond and move fast and do the transporting, it's just as hard for anybody else in the universe who's doing whatever they're doing. So that's kind of the base conversation of, do aliens exist, yes or no? And the answer is life finds a way. And there's evidence, there's considerable conversations out there about it. But it's enough of a question that science fiction has been playing with the idea for a long time. The Day the Earth Stood Still, all of those movies and radio programs, Flash Gordon, the idea of aliens and the discovery of them outside of our world has been the focus of science fiction for a long time. I mean, again, you really want to dig into it, you can go back to Frankenstein. Frankenstein, the monster, was an alien. He was a creation of something inhuman, and he was not welcome in our world. He was not something that fit in with our world. Now, whether or not he should have been accepted, that's a whole conversation we can have on a literature podcast. But we have been grappling with the idea of the other, or the alien species, or the inhuman creation out there that is just within reach of us. So, I mean, you go to Journey to the Center of the Earth, where dinosaurs existed. Like, so much of science fiction has grappled with what is beyond the stars, or what is beneath us, and all that stuff. And so it's been very fascinating. One of the more famous ones, obviously, is Star Trek, which both myself and Stefan adore and love and enjoy, and are a part of a fan club centered around Star Trek, which we have had a lot of fun with and engaging with. So science fiction recently in the series has explored that. I'm going to start with Babylon 5, which I have never watched the whole series, but I've come close. I have a deep and abiding love for Babylon 5. Stefan has never experienced it, which is no shame. Like, you're young, he's younger than I am, and it wasn't a cultural touchstone for you. It was for me. It was a part of my life. It was a part of the world and the media that I consumed as a younger Aaron. So Babylon 5, if you don't have a chance, if you haven't had a chance, you definitely need to pick it up. You definitely need to watch it. You definitely need to immerse yourself in that world, because it is absolutely fascinating. Anyway, so there's aliens. I'm going to put up on my screen. So if you're listening at home on the home program, you're probably going to be missing out on this, which is fine. I just got to find the right one. So the alien species, this is from GameRant.com. It's the Babylon 5 10 best alien species. So Babylon 5 had a lot of really cool alien species, and it was a lot of fun. And you're going to see the pictures on the screen. You're also going to see a heck of a lot of ads. That's just how it is. But the first is the Drac. And they came in the 5th series. And you'll look at them, and they very much resemble the Voth from Star Trek, if you're familiar with the Voth. They also have a little bit of like a approximation to Cardassians. So there's that lizard kind of hard reptilian shell kind of deal. So the other thing about alien design in a lot of science fiction has always been, well, you've got 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, 5 fingers, or however many fingers. Like, it's a humanoid kind of identity. So the Drac was one. The third space aliens was number 9, and they look absolutely terrifying. I think we can make, so there's their picture. They are very not human, and definitely more of what you would think aliens might look like in our world. Very CG, of course. So they were in this was actually, we're in the straight to DVD movies to help flesh out characters. So 1998's Third Space, which was one of the movies. So then there's the Dilgar, which have the look of like a feline cat kind of thing. Again, very humanoid, whatever. What Babylon 5 did really well is they kind of played with it a little bit. So here's the Drazi. They're very militaristic, obviously. But they also did like the shadows. So like those creatures are absolutely terrifying. That, I think, is more of what I think. If aliens exist, that's what they're going to look like. They are going to look like the aliens from Starship Troopers. They're going to look like these crazy, terrifying insectoid kind of creatures that are going to be out there. The others, obviously, are the Vorians, which is it's the biggest alien species in Babylon 5. And what I love about it is that they conceal their true appearance by means of a bulky characters and countersuits, and for good reason. When they take off their suit, he appears as an angelic figure. And what I love about this is that they say it's because Vorlons interfered with the development of the younger races, for example, by triggering the emergence of telepaths. And so that ethereal presence, we talk a lot about, last week we talked about how there's been a lot of sightings from Air Force jets and planes, about these balls of light and balls of energy that are moving around. That fits more with what I think is possible with the alien pieces to it. And then there's, of course, the Centauri, which, again, they were a part of the series from start to finish. The decadent aliens, they traded in their FTL technology in return for art from Earth. And so they were also not good, but very unique in their appearance, but still very humanoid. So with that, I think there's also the Minbari, which, again, very humanoid, just with different kind of hard shell exteriors in their head. And then the Narn, which was another humanoid, almost Cardassian looking kind of creature, very reptilian. But that's Babylon 5. So Babylon 5 in some ways stretched the limits. But you have to remember, Babylon 5 wasn't around for a long time. It was early 90s, late 90s, early 90s. So there wasn't a lot of, hey, let's be revolutionary. It was very much, let's tell a great story and go from there. Now, on the other side of the alien world is the gaming aliens. And I will bring up the Mass Effect one because that is what Stefan wanted to talk about. So let me share that with you real quick. Mass Effect. Doop. Oop. Okay. So, Stefan, walk us through the Mass Effect alien races, starting with the Solarians.
So, first off, to premise this, just as an awareness, this is one of my favorite video games of all time. The Mass Effect series, the first three Mass Effect games, and that's where we'll leave that. There's issues, but
we don't talk about Andromeda.
Yeah, we don't talk about the ending of Mass Effect 3. But anyhow, moving on.
That is also true, because I will start to lose it and spin around like a spinning top.
Anyhow, moving along. So
I have feelings, Stefan. Let me feel my feelings.
Most of the races in Mass Effect are not human. They are exactly their own unique thing. The Solarians are a amphibious humanoidish race. They're known for their very intelligent nature. They're very smart, and they let's just say they know what they're doing when they're trying to take care of things. They talk very fast.
They're more of a scientific
yes
race, correct?
A science race. Okay. Yeah. That's why they're so intelligent. Most of their stuff comes from science, so that comes from their high intelligence. So they're not really the best of fighters. They're more of the scientific side of things. They can fight if they need to, but you usually see them more in scientific areas. Doctors, researchers, things like that. So that's the Solarians. Next we have the Volus. There's not a whole lot known about the Volus. They don't really talk about them. Like, you interact with very few of them in the game. They're short. They're stout. They use masks to talk. They have like high pressure suits on because of their world. So when they're talking, it's very interesting because you can actually hear the breathing through the suit. They're under the protection of the Turians, which we haven't seen on this list yet. But they are pretty much completely under the protection of the Turians. So they're business people. They hold businesses. Their economic structure is founded on business. A lot, kind of like the Ferengi on Star Trek. Money, profits, things like that. Next would be the Keepers. So you don't really find much out about the Keepers. They're only on one of the space stations. They keep to themselves. They don't talk. They don't interact with anyone. Their whole job is just to make sure the station runs. They're a very controversial race because there's not a whole lot known about them. The only thing that is known is they were created by like the baddest of the bad guys in Mass Effect, which I'll tell you who they are when they show up. So they're not someone you really interact with. You just see them walking around.
Right. Well, and what I like about this kind of ominous line, the Keepers ensure that the Citadel continues to function so that the next batch of species will be able to locate and use it. So they'll be there forever. Like they'll be here when they were here in the beginning, and they'll be here in the end because they have one purpose and one purpose only.
Make sure the station.
And that's a thing. Yeah, I think that's also a statement, obviously, on the Reapers, and we'll get to them, obviously, as we go through this. But that's also kind of a statement of,
just how bad they are,
as
and
the
that they
Reapers
always
come
reappear.
yeah, they're right, and that they know that eventually they'll be back in their cycle to take over.
Yeah.
And that is an interesting kind of thing. All right, next on the list.
The Batarians. Oh, the Batarians. They have a really bad reputation in general. They're more to be known as like your pirates, slave traders, smugglers. They're on the shady side of things in the universe. Really, the main thing that you see of them is that they're the bad guys. That's why they have a bad reputation, because most of them that you see are pirates, slave traders, or smugglers. So there's not really a whole lot more to say. Their relations with humanity is very hostile, which, they're pirates and slave traders and smugglers, so that kind of gives that. But they're very
what I find
interesting
is their appearance. Yeah, their appearance is very interesting because they've got the 4 eyes and the nose is very elongated, which, again, what I appreciate about good alien design is that it's done in a way that reflects the uniqueness of their world. And I think Mass Effect, to its credit, does a really good job of that. Mm-hmm. They design aliens specific to their home world or to their whatever, so that their appearance necessitates something or says something about them.
Indeed. Yeah, that's very true.
Okay.
Next would be the
one.
Collectors. In my opinion, the Collectors were annoying. I hated them as an enemy because they were annoying. But their whole reason for existing was to pretty much, let's just say they were used by the Reapers to prepare for the coming back of the Reapers. They were the enemy, 100%. They were trying to indoctrinate people for the Reapers and prepare for their next coming. They're very annoying to fight, in my opinion. So, Turians, love the Turians. Turians are a really cool race. They are war. Like, they're definitely bred for war. They're kind of rigid compared to some races, but they have the largest fleet in the council. So the game has a council of different species: the Solarians, Turians, humanity, and am I missing one?
I don't remember well enough to be honest.
The Asari, that's it. The Turians hold the largest fleet. They are the most powerful. They can be hostile with the humans, but they can also get along with them. It really depends. But the Turians are really a powerful race.
I also like their design because they're very like, it's not that they're like a puppet, but it's almost like they're wood carved faces.
Their faces look wood carved,
and and they're very unique. So each Turian has a unique facial look or facial feel, so that you like there is that uniqueness there. All right, the next, the Geth.
Oh boy, the Geth. Let's just equate the Geth to a higher learning AI. That's their
right.
AI.
Basically, Skynet. Skynet is taking over and has lives in the Geth.
Yes, they are a formidable opponent, an enemy. They were created by the Quarians, I believe.
Okay.
They actually made them sentient, or the Geth gained sentience, and then they begin to ask the Quarians reflective questions, and then the Quarians attack them, and it's been a whole battle after that. So
yeah, it's interesting because you do pick up a Geth in the Mass Effect journey. I think in the third one,
second one, you actually get him in the
second one, and that relationship is very interesting how it's handled because they are AI. There's no actual organics to them. They are strictly computers, which we're going to put a pause on that because the conversation about AI is a present situation that we are dealing with here in 2024. Is that at what point will we lose control, or will we have to establish more control over an AI system or an AI whatever? And I think the Geth are a science fiction example of when things went too far. Because the Geth became very powerful and became an absolute force for good and a lot of bad. So that's an interesting kind of dynamic.
They can be very good in the last game, depending on the choices that the character makes, that you as the player makes. The Geth can actually turn out to be good. So that's a thing. Don't want to go too far
Krogan.
on that. That's spoilers. So,
right.
Krogan. The Krogan. They are powerful. They are big brutes, like really is what they are. They, however, have been kind of in a bad place since the Solarians, which you saw up top there, created a disease that keeps them from being able to breed and make more. So that's a whole story within the game that you can change for the good or not change for the good. It really depends on what you want to do. But the Krogan are very powerful. You actually have one of those as one of them on your ship as well.
Well, and I like the character design again. Mass Effect really leans into it because he wears a suit, but there's a creature inside there, almost prehistoric kind of looking creature who has adapted the ability to speak language and reason and self-awareness, but it's still a monster in there. Like by most approximations, that's what you would see if you were to take off the suit and everything else. And so there is there's human elements to the character design, but it is definitely more in line of what we would think as, okay, well, if an alien race was to develop out at Alpha Centauri or whatever, they would probably be some kind of insect or some kind of creature that evolved into this kind of thing that we see here. So, all right, what's next? Oh,
I don't know this one, honestly. I don't know. Were they just mentioned?
So here's I love this.
Oh,
so this is from thegamer.com. Yeah, so they don't appear on any of the books or the comics, but they were introduced on a Twitter account run by BioWare. So they literally like, here's something you'll never see.
Yeah.
Here it is. It's like, okay, no, that doesn't work. That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
The Reapers.
Yes, the Reapers. Reapers are the big bads. They come every, I forget, what is it, 50,000 years. They come back, they wipe humanity out of existence, and the world starts over again. They wait in deep space, they hide from everyone. They're the ones that created the Keepers on the station. But the Reapers are a formidable foe. And they have a lot of assets to cause issues. If you play the game, you will come to hate the Reapers. Simple fact.
Yeah. Well, and I think again that's the misnomer in the Reapers dynamic, and articles that we're going to explore here, is that there's less chance of this kind of thing happening here because we have the same all of the the creatures or the aliens in the universe. They have the same problem. They can't get from point A to point B. No one, including us, has managed to figure out how to get from here to there in the time that's necessary. And so that's the struggle for probably whatever life is out there, is they haven't figured out how to get to us. And in some cases, they're not interested in getting to us. There's just this lack of, there's just like,
the funny thing is that the Reapers created technology for us to go to different universes in the world. They have a plan. They know what they're doing. This one, Virtual Aliens, yet another one that has never been shown.
Never been shown. Moving on.
Vorcha. Oh, yes, the Vorcha. They don't communicate with your regular term of, talking. They're nonverbal. They're very aggressive.
Yeah.
They will attack you. Most of the time when you see them, you're going to be shot at. That's really what they are. They're just a very aggressive race. Honestly, that's really all the Vorcha are. You don't communicate with them very much, and if you do see them, you're fighting them.
You're not friends.
Right. Exactly.
What I like about the character design here is Vorches have unique bodies that actually evolve as they live and face challenges.
I didn't know
And I
that.
think that's an interesting. Yeah, I have learned this as well myself today. You learn something new every day.
Right.
But that's something that it's said there is that they have that unique kind of whatever. What else we got? All right, the Yogg.
Yeah, Yogg. This is actually funny because the only Yogg you ever see is the what's his name? The broker, the Shadow Broker. Yeah, that's his name.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's the only Yogg you ever see. You don't really learn much about them.
Yeah.
They're the one that you do meet was very shrewd. He was very smart. He knew what he was doing. But according to this article, which I didn't know, they have not achieved their own advanced space travel. So that's probably why they're not well known. The only one that you see is the one that is pictured right there, which you actually see in one of the DLCs. So yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the Rachni. Oh boy, the Rachni. Creepy creatures. They can be good or they can be bad. They're sentient beings. They were thought to be extinct. Come to find out they weren't extinct. And you make a huge decision in the first game that plays a gigantic part in the third game in regards to the Rachni. I will not say anything more than that for the people who haven't played the game and you might play the game. But the Rachni are a very interesting creature, and you encounter them in the first game, and they were one of the enemies I hate to deal with in the first game. Absolutely abhor them. I just don't like those missions. So
you can understand that.
Okay. Quarians are really cool. I like the Quarian race. As you can see, they wear masks over their face because they cannot. They can't. They're very germophobic, I guess would be the word to use.
Okay.
If air or something that's not clean, because those suits are clean suits, if it comes in contact with them, it'll make them sick. It can kill them. The one in the very right-hand corner back in the black, that is Tally. She's one of your crewmates on your ship. Tally's a really cool character. One of my favorite characters in the game. The Quarians are really cool characters. They're the ones who gave sentience to the Geth. So they have a bit of a fight with the Geth. But the Quarians are a really cool race. I really enjoy the aspect of them and the story elements of the Quarians. So yeah.
Well, and it's very their masks and their suits are very connected to the story, the War of the Worlds. And the War of the Worlds story is that aliens come to Earth and they're invading and they're destroying, but what gets the aliens is the bacteria and the germs of our world, and that is what stops the aliens from being able to do. They all start to die and start to fall apart because they couldn't survive. So I think it's kind of interesting how that dynamic is. The reality of it is that if the aliens are going to come visit us, there's going to be a point to it.
Right. And I will say this: the Quarians, they don't really seek out people. They kind of stay to themselves. They stay away from people.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's them. The Asari are exclusively female. The only ones you see are female. They are the most respected race in the game. They have diplomatic abilities like no other. They have biotic abilities that allow them to do special things. And they just have a general grace about them that makes them influential in regards to the world of Mass Effect. There's not really much more to say about the Asari. They're really smart.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
The Protheans are an extinct race, which you only get to learn this if you play a DLC in one of the games. The Protheans were a really cool race. You actually can get one of them as a companion through that DLC and learn a little more about them. They lived the cycle that precedes you playing the game. So they were all wiped out from that cycle of the Reapers coming. They kind of remind me of, I don't know, like their heads remind me of kind of like a spider or something, you know, with the multiple eyes type situation.
Mm-hmm.
But the Protheans had technology. That technology has been researched. It's actually researched in the game for specific reasons and things. But they were really cool. However, we don't know where they came from or anything like that. It's been lost because they all disappeared. So there's not a whole lot known about them, but you do hear about them throughout the game because they are a prominent background story to the whole story.
Interesting. Okay, and next is
the Drell. The Drell and Hanar. So you only see one Drell, and he is one of your shipmates. Again, DLC game.
Yep.
But he's a really cool character. There's not a whole lot known about them, except that their planet is water, so they're an amphibious creature. There's, like I said, there's just not a whole lot known about them. They're a cool character. The Hanar is, they're like jellyfish, really. Mm-hmm. They talk telepathically, kind of like they're jellyfish. I don't really know what else to say about them. They don't play a huge part in the game.
Well, and I think this is more of what I think of when I think of what aliens will be for us. Yeah. They will be less of this and more of this.
Yeah.
Because that's just the reality of biology and how things develop outside of art. And then there's the Elcor.
The Elcor. Again, not a very prominent character. They're kind of one of these slow background characters that you see. They are very very good when it comes to technological standards. They have a huge respect for their tradition, so there's certain things in the game you'll see that they do. But they get their economics from their military endeavors, so they're very militaristic. They don't mesh well with Solarians because of that. You know, they're militaristic,
right.
But you don't know a whole lot about them because you don't really encounter a ton of them. You talk to a few, but there's not like a huge amount of information about them. So,
gotcha. All right, and then humans.
Well, I think humans goes without saying. They are, it's humanity in the game. The Mass Effect revolves around you playing Commander Shepard, which is a human. So you're trying to bring humanity to a better state within the many races of aliens, to give them a better outlook on what humanity is and what we can do, and that we're not just monsters that want to kill everything. Is really the premise of why humanity is in the game. But it's a really cool game. Highly recommend. Mass Effect is one of my favorite games. I said, unless we talk about the controversial areas, but that's a whole nother podcast in and of itself. So
that's a whole nother conversation.
So
all right, so we're going to shift away from science fiction for a second, because again, so I think it's important to note that there is no definitive answer on aliens. There is not a definite yes or no here. What we're exploring is what is our perception, what is the possible reality, and now we're going to kind of slip into the evidence for. And so this is a website. This is from thenewscientist.com. It's an article that was written a bit ago. How long ago? September 2006. So it's been a bit with this article, but I did some good Google deep diving on this one. I found this one. So there's the top 10 controversial pieces of evidence. Now, controversial means it's not the silver bullet. It's not, this is a definite answer here. The first one, in 1976, the Viking Mars lander detects chemical signatures indicative of life. But here's the thing about that. The tests were performed in 1976 on the Viking lander, hinted at chemical evidence of life. So one experiment mixed soil with radioactive carbon-labeled nutrients and then tested for the production of radioactive methane gas. The test reported a positive result. It suggested that there was something in the soil that was metabolizing the nutrients and producing the reactive gas. However, other experiments on board failed to find any evidence of life, so NASA declared the result a false positive. However, obviously, one of the original scientists and others who have since reanalyzed the data still stand by the finding. They argue that other experiments on board were ill-equipped to search for evidence of the organic molecules, a key indicator of life. So again, 1976, science was good, but science wasn't as good as it is now. And so a lot of what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to Mars with the rovers and more to find out what is really there and what has really been there. There is I think it's, and Stefan, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think SpaceX has a plan for a Mars mission along with ULA. I can't remember which one does.
A mission.
You don't.
SpaceX is going to colonize Mars. That's their goal.
Okay, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, ULA has no part of that. ULA doesn't actually have any plans to get to Mars currently, so just SpaceX. And NASA eventually does plan, which is why they've sent rovers, and currently the Perseverance rover is on Mars, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so so some of this is new to me. Like, I didn't know some of this. So in 1977, the unexplained extraterrestrial WOW signal is detected by an Ohio State University radio telescope. They detected an unusual pulse of radiation from somewhere near the constellation Sagittarius. The 37-second long signal was so startling that an astronaut monitoring the data scrawled "WOW" on the telescope's printout. The signal was within the band of radio frequencies where transmissions are internally banned on Earth. Furthermore, natural sources of radiation from space usually cover a wider range of frequencies. As the nearest star in that direction is 220 million light-years away, either a massive astronomical event or intelligent aliens with a very powerful transmitter would have had to have created it. The signal remains unexplained. And so, Stefan, this is where I'm going to rely on you a little bit. If it's 220 million light-years away, whenever it originated is in the past. So far in the past that there's no chance of us being able to identify the current status of wherever it came from, because again, travels the space, the time that signal took to get to us probably took a lot of time, many years, more than a couple.
No, actually.
Okay.
It doesn't take as long as you think, because if you think about it, when you think about the sun and you think about the radiation that the sun comes through, well, the sun's how many millions of miles away? And that stuff can come within 30 minutes to a few hours. So even though we can't get there quickly, signals can actually come quicker than you think. However, I would have to try and calculate that time, but it wouldn't be years. It could be hours. Usually, like now, when NASA tries to relay information with the Voyager 2 probe, it can take them, depending on like the situation, they can get a signal as quick as a few minutes, or it can take a few hours. It kind of varies, but there's no way that it would be like years before we would have seen that signal. It's just not how light years work for us, even though it would take us ages and ages to get there. Since space doesn't have gravity or doesn't have that, stuff travels way faster in space than we can travel in space. If that makes sense. Okay.
So apparently in 1977, something happened. Something was sent to us, which is interesting that we haven't heard anything much like that since.
See, that's where it's interesting, because it says it could be aliens with a powerful transmitter, or it could have been a massive astronomical event, which either way would be a huge thing. But at that time, we wouldn't have a clue, and there'd be no way to know now what it was. So,
gotcha.
It's one of those things, it could be one way or another. But it's still very cool to see, regardless of what it was.
Nice. All right, so in 1996, Martian quote-unquote fossils are discovered in a meteorite ALH 84001 from Antarctica. So careful analysis revealed that the rock contained organic molecules with tiny specks of the mineral magnetite, sometimes found in earth bacteria. Under the electron microscope, NASA researchers also claim to have spotted signs of nanobacteria. But since then, most of the evidence has been challenged. Other experts have suggested that the particles of magnetite were not so similar to those found in bacteria after all, and the contaminants from Earth are the source of the organic molecules. A 2003 study also showed how crystals that resemble nanobacteria could be grown in a laboratory by chemical processes. So this is, I think, a lot of the struggle with, like, when we find things or things are discovered, we're so quick to be like, here it is, here's the truth about aliens, or here's the truth about life in a planet. We trip over ourselves so much that we don't do the actual work to say, okay, let's make sure we verify this, let's double check it, let's make sure we know what we're talking about before we throw this out into the world and say, ha, aliens. And then, 10 years later, people go, nope, wasn't aliens. But in those intervening years, everyone believes, and then it's like, oh, well, no, we were told the wrong thing. So, number 4, 2001, more rigorous calculations connected to the 1960s Drake equation suggest that our galaxy may contain hundreds of thousands of life-bearing planets. So I guess U.S. astronomer Frank Drake developed an equation to help estimate the number of planets and the number capable of communicating with us. So the Drake equation multiplies together, oh my gosh, all of this. So I'll highlight this on the screen because it's a lot of information here. So 7 factors. The formation of rate of stars like our sun, the fraction of Earth-like planets, and the fraction of those on which life develops. Many of these figures are open to wide debate, but Drake himself estimates the final number of communicating civilizations in the galaxy to be about 10,000. I don't know if I believe that entirely. But then in 2001, they went ahead and did it again, and using new data and theories, and came up with a figure of hundreds of thousands. For the first time, researchers estimated how many planets might lie in the habitable zone, and the results suggest that an inhabited Earth-like planet could be as little as a few hundred light years away. And there has been, through the telescopes, they've seen some possibilities of the Goldilocks planets that may exist. So, but there's no definite, like, it's happening, we know they're there. I think what it is the math is just being used to say, look, the possibilities are there, and we want to encourage searching for those planets and those possibilities versus not. This one was interesting to me. In 2001, the red tinge of Jupiter's moon, Europa, proposed to be due to frozen bits of bacteria, which also helps explain a mysterious infrared signal it gives off. This was news to me as well. So alien microbes might be behind Europa's red tinge. So they said in 2001, well, then maybe that infrared radiation in an odd manner, that suggests something like magnesium salts perhaps are binding it together, but no one's been able to come up with the right combination of compounds to make sense of the data. So this is one of the things where a mystery exists in our universe, and science, despite its best efforts, can explain it. And I think that is where we kind of enter into the Sherlock Holmes territory of, whatever you eliminate the improbable, whatever's left is possible. And so the idea here is that the infrared spectra of some earthly bacteria fits the data at least as well as magnesium salts. So plus some are red and brown in color, perhaps explaining the moon's ruddy complexion. Although bacteria might find it hard to survive in the 170 degrees negative Celsius surface temperatures, they might survive in the warmer liquid interior. So geological activity would then spew them out periodically to be flesh frozen on the surface. So there's the idea that, Jupiter might have our answer, or at least part of our answer. And that, I think, is more in line to what I would believe about alien existence, is that it's the bacteria, it's the microbes, it's those elements that exist in those planets versus an actual, like, alien creature that we can talk to. But it does, what that second paragraph is talking about is, we've seen that on Earth, and we've seen these particular combinations and variables having a similar reaction to what we see when we point it at Jupiter. And so correlation here does possibly mean causation, or causation here may mean correlation, whichever way you flip that saying around. This might actually be proof that there is something that was either alive or is alive in the sense of bacteria and something like that. So that one fascinates me, because that's always been a conversation with, like, science fiction is, you go to a different planet and you bring back a bacteria and it kills everybody. Like, that's more in line of what I think as how we would be invaded by aliens. We wouldn't be invaded by actual physical aliens. We'd be invaded by alien bacteria, and that would be terrible.
Or, I mean, I guess alien bacteria in a way is just an unknown bacteria to us. You know, to people thinking that alien is this big thing. Anything that is not of this earth is alien. I mean, that's really what alien is. And bacteria exist all over the world, or the world, the planet, the galaxy. That would be a whole microbiology type conversation, but it's there. It exists. And as Aaron said, that would more be a way of bacteria getting here. That's why when astronauts go into space, they're sealed into a place. They go through a clean room. That shuttle is or that capsule, whatever it is vigorously checked out to make sure it is sealed away from any kind of possible dangers when it goes into space. It is probably one of the most important things. Like when a Dragon capsule docks with the International Space Station, it's hours before it actually opens and those astronauts get out to make sure that everything is safe, not only for the people on the station, but the people that are in the capsule as well. A huge thing is to make sure that alien, bacteria, germs, anything that could be harmful to humanity does not interfere with these missions. And it is probably one of the biggest safety things that any company that does space-related travel with humans on it, they make sure to cross their P's and Q's, so to speak, or to make sure that doesn't happen. But that doesn't mean that it might not eventually happen. But they try their best to make sure that doesn't happen, because the wrong thing comes to Earth and we could all be in trouble.
Right. I'm going to skip the other two because they're similar kind of conversations about how bacteria and stuff like that. Number 8, though, is interesting. 2003, sulfur traces on Jupiter's moon Europa may be the waste products of underground bacterial colonies. So in 2003, Italian scientists hypothesized that sulfur traces on Europa, that's a sign of alien life. The compounds were first detected by the Galileo space probe, along with evidence for volcanically warmed oceans beneath the moon's icy crust. So the sulfur signatures look similar to the waste products of bacteria, which get locked into the surfaces of lakes in Antarctica on Earth. So those bacteria survive in the water below. Some of the bacteria might also thrive below Europa's surface. The researchers suggest. Other experts rejected the idea, suggesting that the sulfur somehow originates from the neighboring moon, Io, where it is found in abundance. So there's not like we'd have to literally get out there with another probe and do some really deep dives into that. But that's, I think, again, this is from the newscientist.com, this very scientific, very clinical view of this. That, I think, is more of the aliens that we'll deal with. But we go back to Mars with number 9. In 2004, methane in the Martian atmosphere hints at microbial metabolism. In 2004, 3 groups using telescopes on Earth and the European Space Agency's Mars Express orbiting space probe independently turned up evidence of methane in the atmosphere. Nearly all methane in our own atmosphere is produced by bacteria and other life. So it could also be produced by volcanism. So the thawing of frozen underground deposits are delivered by comet impacts. Like, that's legit. But what it says is the source has to be recent, so the gas is rapidly as the gas is rapidly destroyed on Mars, or escapes into space. So in 2005, a scientist controversially announced, of course, that he had also found evidence of formaldehyde produced by oxidation of methane. This has proved it will strengthen the case of the microbes, as a whopping 2.5 million tons of methane per year would be required to create the quantity of formaldehyde postulated to exist. I don't think that was actually proven, because obviously the article is not updated. They'll need to get equipment to Mars first, and they have. Like, this article was written a bit ago. So, all right, number 10. This one is similar to the 1976 signal, but in 2004, a mysterious radio signal is received by the SETI project on 3 occasions from the same region of space. So in February 2003, astronomers with a search for extraterrestrial SETI project, which has since shut down, and is I don't think it's not operating as it used to, because it used to be we all had a program on our computers that would process the data and send it back. That program got shut down. I don't know if SETI is operating as much as it used to. Used a massive telescope in Puerto Rico to re-examine 200 sections of the sky, which had all previously yielded unexplained radio signals. These signals had all disappeared except for one, which had become stronger. The signal, widely known to be the best candidate yet for an alien contact, comes from a spot between the constellations Pisces and Aries, where there are no obvious stars or planets. Curiously, the signal is at one of the frequencies that hydrogen, the most common element, absorbs and emits energy. Some astronomers believe that this is a very likely frequency at which aliens wishing to be noticed would transmit. Nevertheless, there is also a good chance that the signal is from a never-before-seen natural phenomenon, similar to what we talked about regarding the 76 one or whatever. The one in 67 turned out to be the first ever sighting. Oh, here we go. So 67 turned out to be the first ever sighting of a pulsar. So there you go. A lot of this is we hope and believe that we're going to get an alien confirmation.
Also,
but the unfortunate bit is, go ahead.
I looked up SETI. They are still very active, actually.
Okay. So the home operation where we all had programs on our computers, that did shut down. I knew that. Yeah. That was fun though. Like that was a cool part of like my little early life in whatever is that you could be like, yeah, my computer's searching for alien life connected to the internet for SETI. I'm working for SETI, man. I'm going into the final frontier, and I don't think any of those programs ever found anything significant, which is why it got shut down for the most part anyway. Okay. Do you want to talk about the NASA standards of evidence in the search for UFOs?
I can. Oh.
Let me pull it up here. And we can kind of both talk about it a little bit, but I think NASA has been under extreme pressure along with the government and the administration, not just this administration, but previous administrations, to really come clean about the UFO situation. Because it's 2024. We've had enough secrecy. Like, just be honest with us. Tell us the truth. Tell us what's going on. But yeah, NASA has decided that, okay, we're going to bring standards. This is from 2022. So this is from rochester.edu. The University of Rochester News Center. Peter Iglinski, who is maybe still is the communications officer and media relations specialist at University of Rochester. They announced they were convening a commission to investigate UAPs. What do you think about is this a dog and pony show, or is this actually NASA trying to get a handle on things?
See, that's the thing. So NASA is a government agency. The government, as you said, has been getting a lot of flack in regards to UFOs, UAPs. And I think part of that is, so NASA, as most people should know, their main goal is science, the exploration, the scientific outlook of space. They're not like commercial launch programs that have a specific goal. NASA's main goal is science targeted. If you look at most NASA missions, there is some kind of science objective for every single one of them. In fact, it is a prerequisite that any mission that you have with NASA has some kind of scientific mission or furtherance to what we know of that science. It has to be. And I think it's come to the point where people are like, look, you're the scientists. You're the people that are supposed to be knowing these things. Why have you not talked about it? Why have you told us nothing about it? Why is this such an in-the-dark type of conversation? And I think, as the article says, it says that they announced that they're convening a commission to investigate UAPs. If it's handled well, the commission could do more than shed much-needed lights on UAPs. It could also give Americans a master class in the most basic, most important, and unfortunately most boring topic of science, standards of evidence. Standard of evidence. So boring.
Do you want to know something hilarious? That link where it says announced. Guess where that goes? Guess what that link goes to? A 404.
That's great. Oh boy.
Not found. Doesn't exist. But we'll go back to the Rochester article. It is hilarious. It's like, it's not there. So I'm sure it probably got. But this is like back in what? 2022, so not like 2 years ago,
right?
And that announcement is gone.
Well, let me look at something here.
Okay. Well, he looks. So there is a lot of concern about NASA because NASA, you're asking people who have held a lot of secrets for a long time to actually finally share them, and there's always that concern of like, are we getting the truth from this government organization, or is there some concern that there's some bobbing and weaving happening when it comes to telling us the full truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Like, that's a lot of people's concern, because for some folks, their experiences with other government agencies and other government events, trust isn't high on the list. So there is that element. All right, we've got another link that we're going to look at.
Yes.
So get over to it.
I did a pop-up and I was like, all right, NASA, in regards to evidence of UAPs or UFOs.
Yeah.
This article is...
Whoa, hey, it's the Washington Post, and I can't actually view it because I'm not a subscriber.
That's funny because I can view it and I'm not a subscriber either.
Well, you're just beloved, apparently.
No.
All right, well,
That's not it.
Okay, so what does the article say? Because
okay, so
I can't.
The article title says no evidence that UFOs have extraterrestrial origins. NASA finds. So it's
well, I'm convinced.
The very top of the article says a panel of scientific experts commissioned by NASA to study unidentified anomalous phenomena, more widely known as UFOs, said Thursday that it found no evidence that any of the reported objects were extraterrestrial in origin. Yeah. So it was a 16-member expert panel. They actually wrote an entire report in regards to this. Oh, hey, look. It's a 404 on NASA's site, too. Look at that.
I love it.
That's
I love
great.
it so much. I love it.
However, the administrator of NASA, Bill Nelson, said the top takeaway of the study is that there's a lot more to learn. So NASA is pretty much saying what they know now, no, it's not extraterrestrial, but we don't know everything. We don't know.
Right.
It says that the panel...
Well, and the question then becomes, then what is it?
Well, it says the panel...
It's not extraterrestrial.
It says the panel's report, while it was short on findings, it represents NASA's first steps into serious UAP research amid a new era of openness by the U.S. government, particularly the military and intelligence community, which is very true.
Yeah.
Over the past few years, the intelligence community and the military have really been pushing to release information that people don't know about. I just think that the U.S. people have finally been like, all right, we want to know something. You know something, so tell us something, or show us, show us something, pretty much. So, I think it's going to be a while before NASA gets to that point. I mean, they had a panel, 16-member expert panel, but there's only so much information NASA has. I mean, they don't have all the information of all the intelligence communities and what the military has and all those things. So, if the government opens that up so that everyone sees it when it comes to like the different organizations in the government, NASA may have a better ability to study and look for those phenomena and those things. So,
well, speaking of NASA and the truth, so this is an article from science.howstuffworks.com. They're a podcast. They also have a bunch of articles. So they have the top 10 signs that aliens probably exist. Number 10, obviously, the number of UFO sightings have continued to climb and be seen more. Apparently, there's ancient evidence. Number 9, there's a painting, the Madonna with Saint Giovanni, which was painted in the 15th century, and shows a disc-shaped object in the sky behind Mary's shoulder. There's also a man and dog staring at the object in disbelief. There are ancient cave paintings and old manuscripts suggest that alien life and visits from UFOs. This doesn't offer much scientific evidence, but is intriguing to suggest that objects in the sky have been visiting Earth since the dawn of civilization. Now, number 8 is the traditional one that everyone kind of talks about. It's Roswell in Area 51. Something landed at Roswell in 1947, and something was then stored or is being stored at Area 51. Area 51 exists. If it initially the government said, "Oh no, the base doesn't exist," but later it was like, "Okay, yes, it does, but it's for Air Force stuff. It's for Air Force business. It's not for your business." And so people have just been like, number one, it's heavily restricted. Number two, it's heavily guarded. And number three, something is there. Something that you are protecting or keeping that you can't move, that you can't cut up into pieces, that has to stay there. So that's been a lot. This one was news to me. Number 7 is the UFO, the Apollo 11 UFO sighting. Apollo 11 is, of course, most famous for putting men on the moon for the very first time. But this mission also seems to strengthen the case for extraterrestrial life. 3 days into the mission, the astronauts sent a message back to Mission Control asking if they knew where the detached part of the rocket was. The reason for this is they saw an object that appeared to be riding alongside the rocket, but the detached part was 6,000 miles away. According to alleged leaked documents, Aldrin and Armstrong saw 2 enormous spacecrafts whilst on the moon, and a 2-minute period of radio silence leads many to believe that NASA deliberately blocked this from the public. According to a retired NASA communications engineer and several other astronauts, many Apollo missions resulted in UFO sightings, which have all been kept quiet. That is interesting to me, and I think that's where people start to question, hey, do we know the whole truth, nothing but the truth about some of this stuff? Some of it can careen into conspiracy theory territory, so I want to be very gentle in how I approach this. I'm not trying to say, the government's hiding everything, get the tinfoil hats. I'm not going there.
Well, I think the most interesting thing about Area 51, the CIA declassified documents in 2013 about the development of the U-2 and the A-12. Those are aircraft that were produced at Area 51. So, like, I can't say what's going on in Area 51. You know, I don't know any of that.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting because I don't know if you know this, but there is a specific flight in Las Vegas. There is a plane that literally takes officials to Area 51. That's the only thing that plane does. It is a specific flight from Las Vegas that goes straight to Area 51. So
interesting.
Whatever is on that base, whether it be alien, which I don't know, or whether it be just top secret government projects, we don't know. But I think that's like, I think that's where the conspiracy comes through. People are just immediately like, well, the government's hiding everything on this base. It's like the most secretive place, and everyone will be shot if they even go near it. So immediately, aliens. I can't say that that's the case. You know, I don't know. Yeah. But the whole fact about Area 51 is very interesting because it's one of those things that when you bring it up with people, they're immediately like, oh yeah, so what do you think about Area 51? What could it be? And it's like, well, you can always have a speculation about it, but I don't think we're ever truly going to know. They may declassify information to give us more, more information, but they're never going to say everything. According to garrison information, when it comes to the Air Force, because I have looked this up before, they call it the Air Force Test Center. That's what it is. The garrison detachment there is an Air Force Test Center detachment. So what they're saying is they're there to test things. But what are they testing? Where do these things come from? Like, you know, that's a whole thing. It's a very interesting conversation. And like you said, it can get into that conspiracy territory, which I am not even going to. We do know that some very interesting aircraft have come from Area 51. Like I said, the A-12, the D-21, different things like that. So it could be that Area 51 is literally just that. They are producing top secret government aircraft or aircraft for the military or, things like that. We really don't know. But being as everything that we've seen to come out of there is aircraft, that is the biggest consensus of what we can say is going on there without going into conspiracy theories like you said.
Yeah, I agree. I think because the thing about conspiracy theories, to take a slight rabbit trail off and then back on the road, is once you believe one conspiracy theory, it's a progressive step further into the unknown. It spirals. You start to believe things that normally you just question. Like you'd be like, I can't. No, that's not. But because conspiracy theories require you to kind of abandon some level of critical thinking, you end up giving a lot of that up, and then it's so that's kind of the deal there. So that's, we want to be very clear in what we say. I got nothing else, to be honest, and we've rocked an hour. I think what's interesting is there's been a lot of science fiction has presented the aliens in the way that we think of them. And you look at the actual movie that's titled Alien and Aliens, like with Sigourney Weaver. That is more in line with, I think, what we will probably experience as an alien presence in our lifetime, because there will be no, it'll just be a monster, or it'll be a beast, or it'll be an insect, or it'll be a creature that we have to then figure out how to deal with.
So I do have something to talk about, because I don't know if you know it exists. Have you ever heard of the Green Bank Telescope?
The Green Bank Telescope. No, please do share.
So the Green Bank Telescope is located in West Virginia. That's why I know about it. I've passed it. I've looked at it. I've seen it.
Okay.
So the main, let me go to the site, because I don't want to say the wrong thing, because then someone's going to be like,
okay,
wrong. It's the Green Bank Observatory, to be exact.
Okay.
A lot of what is done there is, I guess, a huge part of what is done there is they're trying to find signals of things that we don't know, unknown signals. If you actually go to the community of Green Bank in West Virginia, they are so strict there that the people there cannot have electronics, because it will mess with the electronics of that telescope, or that dish. So I have a buddy who doesn't even live in Green Bank, but he's still within what they call their occlusion zone. He's been trying to get Starlink internet at his house in the middle of nowhere. His parents, which live literally right next to him, have it, but he can't have it because he's in that exclusion zone. And because there can't be electronics in that area, he can't get it, which apparently they're trying to work with Green Bank in regards to, getting that. But you can actually go there to that place. You can tour the center, and I think there is a tour where you can actually go see that dish, actually walk up to it and things like that. It's a very big scientific thing here in West Virginia. A lot of people doesn't even know that it exists. So
yep, there it is. There's the Green Bank Observatory with the big old dish, several dishes it looks like.
They have more than one, but the main one is the one at the very left.
That's that big dude there.
Yup.
Okay. That's fair.
They are partnered with the National Science Foundation, as well as the West Virginia University Center for Astrophysics. In some cases, they also work with NASA. But it's a very interesting place, because there has been talk that a lot of what they do is they're trying to find signals of extraterrestrial life, seeing if there are things out there that we don't know. It's a very like I said, very interesting place. It's secluded in the middle of nowhere. But
right, it looks very isolated.
It is. It's very isolated, but it's a beautiful place, as you can see. So there's a little tidbit. There's something you didn't know, Aaron.
I have learned something new today.
Right. Well, you've learned 2 new things today, apparently.
Woo! I'm learning things today, baby. That's how I love it when I learn things.
Right. Exactly. But
Okay.
that was just a little tidbit in regards to the whole alien thing and searching for extraterrestrial. A little addition for you.
That is really cool. Well, I think we've talked the aliens into the ground and back out the other side of the Earth, so they're back in orbit. If you have anything, if we've missed something about aliens, and I guarantee you we have, if you know something, you're like, hey, you should have talked about this, or hey, where's your tinfoil hat, or whatever, feel free to shoot us an email, adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Again, adelayedteacher@gmail.com. And let us know what's something we missed, what's something we should look on. You're looking, hey, I'd like to see your commentary on this alien-centered thing or this alien-focused thing. We will certainly return to the alien discussion at some point down the road as more information comes to light, or we do more research and we figure out just exactly what we believe more about this alien experience and the alien presence that may or may not be there. Outside of that, that's the show. My name is Aaron,
and my name is Stefan.
And Stefan, what do we ask? What do we ask for?
Well, before we ask, thank you for listening to our podcast, The Quantum Photons. We really appreciate it. Hope you learned something new, or if you didn't learn something new, that something interested you, I guess you would say. But as to Aaron's question, what we ask for is, as always, we ask for clear skies on the horizon.
And we also ask for a safe journey through the final frontier. Live long and prosper ye all. We will see you next week. Thanks for listening. Good night.